Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency and Money podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm Tony Guerra, pharmacist and publisher, bringing you help succeeding in your career, health, and wealth before, during, and after residency. You can sign up for the email list at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com to get your free LOI template or get editing help working one-on-one with me at residency.teachable.com. Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm back. I'm going to do a series here in the last 3 months of the year on really maximizing what it takes to get a residency and what are the things that you can do to stand out. Because that's really the biggest concern you have, is that you're going to be forgotten. And while you spent so much time on your application and all the things that kind of go along with it, so did a lot of other people. And it's not that you're probably not going to get a residency. You're actually probably going to get one. The odds are in your favor. But what I'm saying is that now you're really kind of going for, can I get the best residency in the best location, with the best pay, with the best hours, with the least, indentured servitude on the weekends. Some of the quotation fingers top residencies make you work every other weekend, which is just insane. And what you get by doing this is choices. And one of the things that makes someone really stand out is the fact that they have a publication. And the golden publication of both being in academia and in the residency process is having some publication in a peer-reviewed journal. Like the American Journal of Pharmaceutical Education is one where it really talks a lot about teaching pharmacy students and so on. And it's part of the AACP, so American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy. Then there's more of like AJHP, which is the American Journal of Health System Pharmacy, which is more of a clinical type thing. But there are a number of PhDs that are doing stuff in their in their own, so you've got, biochemistry professors, chemistry professors, things like that. And you don't have to have it be about pharmacy necessarily. What they care about is that you can do the research process, that you can create a poster, that you're really not going to cause them a lot of trouble in terms of how much onboarding you'll need for that. But it really does stand out because it also talks about, well, if it was what you cared about with your research, a lot of times it's what the researcher cares about. But usually you're drawn to a researcher because of their research interests also match what you care about. So the kind of golden research would be where, you're interested in a pediatrics residency and you've done a pediatrics research and you've also published in a pediatrics journal or something like that. But those are really tough to get and those are really tough to do. And kudos to you if you did it. But what are some other things that you can do to show that you're interested in publication, that you're doing those types of things? And you're like, well, do blogs really count? Or do, e-letters and news and stuff that I've sent to my, colleges count? So some people are part of the group that invites first year pharmacy students into campus and so forth, and you write a bunch of material for that, and you work with the admissions office, or maybe you work with other people in the pharmacy school. And really what it is okay, can I in some way get a point or two on the rubric for the work I've done? And so that's really what you want to do, is you want to make it in such a way that you are, one, demonstrating what you're interested with, because again, our whole point here is trying to be remembered, trying to do something that's memorable, something that stands us out from other applicants, but also that you are in some way showing that you are moving toward a specialty, something that you really care about, and that's something you can talk about, and something that you'll have a lot of energy about. So my current APPE student, I guess she would be more like ID, like she cares about infectious diseases, and that's something that she's done some work with. And the more you get towards something, anything really, that, okay, I get who you are and what you care about and what matters to you, the better off you are. So what I want to do with this kind of first episode is just talk briefly about what I did in terms of writing some books with some students, and how you can kind of engage with other people in your circle, whether it be at the pharmacy school with the preceptors or the instructors there, or just write it yourself, because that's what I did. And I think the last number was we've sold 75,000, and this is just the audiobook, so 75,000 audiobooks. And to be fair, I'm probably a lot more under the banner of popular writing rather than clinical research writing. So I can tell you I will never be getting an award for my clinical contribution to the profession. But I've actually gotten some awards for the books that I've written and the textbooks that I've written. And I have written textbooks too, but that's kind of a lot to ask for, first P1 through P4 to have written a pharmacology textbook or something like that. But let me just give you a couple that I've written with other people. The Strong Residency Letter of Intent. This is kind of my jam. This is what I love to do. And if you need help with your letter of intent, I'll help you with it. I'll show you the link if you want it. But I've kind of stopped doing this just because it takes so much time, so much energy over the holidays. And we really tend to do our most important travel to see my parents over that time. But if you want help with your letter of intent, I can help you. But it was really I just saw a need, which is that many students were copying the word for word the letter of intent from the UCSF website. And worse than the plagiarism itself, it says on there this is copyrighted, like don't copy it. But worse than the plagiarism is that now when this poor resident who is reading it, and I assure you, the residency director is not reading your first draft of your letter of intent or your CV and everything. It's going to be one of the residents. When this poor resident has to read, I want to express my sincere interest. Well, it's not very sincere when the letter before yours and the letter after yours all say, I want to express my sincere interest. It just means that you're going to be forgotten because they're going to skip the entire first paragraph and they're going to go to the second. And hopefully you have something somewhat original there, but that isn't always the case. But I made it $0 on Kindle Unlimited, so anybody that's Kindle Unlimited can just look at it, Strong Residency Letter of Intent, and your goal is to be interviewed. And be interviewed as many places as you can that match what you care about. And so that is always like $0 on Kindle Unlimited. You're welcome to read that one. What I did with Brandon Dyson was we recognized that there's not enough good question, answers, and rationales. Like, here's what you do, or here's what it sounds like. And we spent quite a bit of money to get professional narrators, 2 of them. One who he's originally Irish, but he kind of toned down his Irish accent, but you can hear it. And then the other is from, I want to say he's from Albany. I know he's from New York. I think he's from upstate. And those guys, Michael Lenz and Gary Furlong, did a great job. And it's the back and forth that makes it interesting enough that you would listen to 100 questions, answers, and rationales. But I did that with Brandon Dyson. And many of you guys know of his website. But you may not know he's behind it. Okay. But Brandon Dyson, I did that with him, and that was a lot of fun. But that's another way. It's like, okay, well, I'm just really interested in the residency process. Maybe I'll write something that has to do with the questions, the answers, and rationales that, would be something that you'd want to do. Okay. Then one of the Appy students, I didn't have her as an Appy student, but I knew of her. And I said, well, you're applying to ambulatory care. You're kind of a standout student. She went perfect in her application. And she says this in there. I'm not sharing anything she wouldn't share. Where she got all interviews at all the places she applied. And she only applied to like 6 or 7. And that's an example of someone doing the opposite of let's put as many out there as I can to let's be really, really good about making sure the places I'm applying are the places that match with me. And Callie Abramowitz did that. And we did the same thing, $0 on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can just kind of flip through that one and see all the, specifically for the ambulatory care kind of segment. Okay. Then I did another book with another student, Sydney Day, and she was a BBA, which is a Bachelor of Business Administration from the University of Iowa, and she was a finance major. And it's like, well, and she was graduating without debt or close to it. She worked a lot. Don't get me wrong. She worked a lot. You may have just listened to your financial pharmacist and Brandon Gerleman, who was a University of Iowa graduate. And I actually interviewed him like a long time ago. I want to say it was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, something like that. And he's since, paid off his debt. She just did it while she was in school, working at Starbucks, at the pool, a number of different places. But it was just very impressive that she did that. And then ended up getting kind of stealing, to be honest, not stealing, that's the wrong word, but when you talk about residencies and who they take, there's generally like a group that, they usually come from one school or another. And she actually ended up getting one where another school tends to get the residencies there, but her application was so exceptional that she was able to get it. And she again, got the residence she wanted, graduated with no debt. And then I have free codes for this one. So if you ever want this one, just tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. I'll send you a debt-free pharmacy student audiobook code for that one if you want it. There's no reason to get in more debt for that one. And then memorizing multiplication. This is something I just did, and I thought, a student could do something like this. One of my daughters does not like math, or did not like math. I think she actually likes it now. And what I've done is I took the times tables, which is really hard to remember for kids that age. And it's something called the curse of knowledge, where you can do something really easily and other people can't, and you don't understand why it's so hard for them. It's what happens when you become like a P4, and here you are spouting off, well, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system begins with renin moving angiotensin 1 to, or angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1, and then angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, and then when we talk about ACE inhibitors, and so you have all this knowledge in your brain, and the patient's like, I just want to know if I need to take it with food, right? And you just forget how hard it was to learn it. And so I made like a 90-minute book that basically is like, it's for third graders. Third graders is where the multiplication like madness happens. And so, of course, I included a dog and animals in there. And it was just something I cared about. And even if you wrote something like this, it would be the same thing where you're not in a peer-reviewed journal and you're maybe not checking the boxes, but they're getting to know you as a person. They're getting to know what you care about. And I care about people doing well in math. I teach chemistry, I teach biology, I teach pharmacology. So it's all subjects with surprise math. They're like, what? Wait, where'd the math come from? Why is there math? So again, it gets to let the person know who you are, what you're about, and most importantly, you stand out. You're like, oh yeah, the guy that wrote the multiplication book. Oh, the guy that, the person that wrote the ambulatory care book, or the person that wrote the debt-free student book. If you can get one of those monikers where somebody like remembers you that way, then when they're in their session, like who goes on to the next round, they're like, oh, we've got to meet this multiplication guy. So that's the kind of thing I'm thinking. And if you have a third grader, and thanks for listening, you're welcome to email me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send you a free audiobook code for this one if you have someone who is struggling with that, or if you are a parent struggling with it and how to approach your little one. I'm going to put out a video on how to make on a one-pager back and front of in Microsoft Word or Google Doc, where I can do the multiplication table on that too, but that's coming up in my spare time. And then last thing, if you do want to reach out to me, residency.teachable.com, if you want me to help you with your LOI or something like that, interview prep, I'll let you know, if I'm a good person for that. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Most schools have been doing this, but some schools still don't. You go from the school that is literally writing it for you, like where you go into the class and then your revisions are like somebody has completely edited it, which is what I do basically. Like just give me what you have, and then I'll give it back. But be careful with ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is just taking from other people too. So if you think that, ChatGPT, please write me an original letter of intent to such and such school, you're going to find that Chat is not so honest. There's a reason they call it Cheat GPT. So anyway, we'll just finish off with that. But again, the goal is to stand out. The goal is to be remembered, and writing something, anything that in some way reflects who you are on the inside. And I hate using the word passion, but sometimes it's the right word. And I do have a passion for helping people with science and math. And that was a struggle for me when I was younger. And it makes me happy when other people succeed where I didn't. So if you ever want to get a hold of me, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com. I'm always happy to answer your questions and such about residency. I think it's hard to ask your own professors about it a lot of times, because you don't want to sound like you should have known that or something like that. I'm happy to help you if I can. But otherwise, have a great week, and we'll be talking more soon. This has been the Pharmacy Residency and Money Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. You might want to check out our available residency audiobooks at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com/books, or you can get your first book free if you've never been on Audible before. You can work one-on-one with me to get a better residency that will better suit your career, health, and wealth at residency.teachable.com. Feel free to send an invite to Tony PharmD on LinkedIn or email me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. Music was by Policy.